Much. So, who has got dragons? Who already worked with dragons? Do any of you already have dragon guides? Just one?
Yes and no.
Yeah, just a no. Okay. So, is dragon new? Is the concept of dragon new to all of you, or any of you? Is it something you've encountered before? So is it new to you? Anybody else? Is it new to everybody else that's here? No. So you've got dragons as well. In the past. Okay. So this book, it's been 20 years in the making for me. Yeah, about 20 years. And I would say it's a book I wish I had when I started my dragon journey. So my dragon journey began in 2002 and then really kicked off properly in 2005 with my Reiki 1 healing. I did my Reiki 1 attunement. And I was researching, as we all do, just information I was getting, and I soon realised actually there was nothing out there about dragons. So everything that's in here, the dragons have either guided me to or have taught me directly. And we cover everything, and I really didn't know how to put it together. I didn't know what to cover in the book, what not to cover in the book. And so what I ended up doing was starting with like the chakras. Starting on the sort of the beginning of our spiritual journey. So we have the dragons and the chakras in here. We also have the dragons in the extended chakras. There's meditations to connect to your dragons. And there's a whole host of exercises for you to explore your own spirituality, but also your own dragon path. And I've since discovered there is actually a Wiccan path called the Dragon Path, which I didn't actually know until very, very recently. So I was like, oh, okay, that's why they wanted it called the Dragon Path Oracle, and it's why they wanted me to work with the Wheel of the Year. So in here we've got everything from working with the galactic dragons, working with earth dragons, working with the Wheel of the Year, combining all of that, as well as your spirit guides, all your dragon guides, your dragon teachers. If you're a healer, there's healing dragons, and then there's our guardian dragon. And so I cover all of this within the book. So this is sort of 20 years condensed into 220 something pages of what of my journey that I hope will support other people who want to take the journey with the dragons as well. So you said you've got a dragon that works with you, sir?
It's a bit of an odd story. A long time ago I was looking through Gothic clothing magazine and saw a dragon on a t-shirt, and he's on like some rocks and just staring at you, snarling. And then all of a sudden it just hit me in the third eye, where I knew his name, and I knew a little bit about the story, and his connection to a small girl who's other part of the story. And I shook it off. I was odd.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, just because I'm a daydreamer, I just very active imagination, just built and built and built. And in the end, this idea, this story with these people that I was kind of making, but it was coming from somewhere. I was channeling it to a degree.
Yeah.
And then I've turned it into a novel. So,
fantastic!
Which I'm finishing off now. So that's been in the making some years as well.
Yeah.
Again, maybe a bit later than what you were saying there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it come from somewhere, and it does. The names, the images, and things.
Yeah.
And I'm just putting that into like a series of novels, basically. That's what came to me.
Fantastic.
I'm not sure how it's in depth as yours there, of course.
Yeah. It's all relevant though, isn't it? It's all relative. And it's really interesting, and what I find with the dragons is that ultimately you don't actively, like you've discovered, go looking for dragon comes to you. It's like you're chosen by the dragon. And if you're a regular meditator and dragons turn up, that's that's how they often show themselves, which is what I talk about in here. But also, as you said with the t-shirt that you saw, was it the t-shirt that you said you saw?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'll be out, and literally dragons are on your radar wherever you go. So if they're not getting through to you through meditation and that kind of space, you will literally keep seeing dragons. I had a message from somebody just last week saying, I just keep seeing dragons everywhere. Wherever I go, there's dragons. It's like they're calling you. They're asking you to work with them. And so it's to say you're chosen is a bit twee really, but that is how it feels. It's you don't choose to work with dragon, they choose to work with you because they've got something to teach you or show you. And this is what I cover in here. So what we have, splitting down, because a group of dragons is called a clan, by the way. I didn't want to call it a group of dragons. I called them a gaggle for a long time. I thought, what do you call a group of dragons? and eventually, as the universe does, I love how the universe works, and this was about 18 years later. I must have put something on my social media, and then somebody either messaged or put it into my inbox or something, and said, oh, did you know that a group of dragons is called a clan? I went, oh my God, it was just perfect. And I just felt it was absolutely right. And that's sort of how information comes. If I can't get it, the universe delivers it to me one way or another, because that's the way the dragons work. They give it to you somehow or another through synchronicity or something like that. And so what I've discovered with the dragons over the last 20 years is that we have a dragon teacher. So our dragon teacher will be a guide, a bit like a spirit guide, but they'll support us within our physical day-to-day life. So they'll guide us through all of our transitions and things that we're going through and things we wish to achieve and so on. Then we have so that's our dragon guide. Then our dragon teacher is about our spiritual path, and they will very much guide us along that spiritual journey, whatever form that may happen to take for us. One of my dragon guides was actually ended up being a pair of them. They wanted me to do some particular work on my heart chakra, so I've got a room at home that I do all my spiritual work in. And I thought, well, no, what's all this about? And I ended up with these two dragons, a silver, and what I thought was a silver dragon and a gold dragon. And they were sort of doing this in front of me, and they honed in on my heart chakra. And as they were honing in and sort of trying to expand my heart chakra, I'd feel this enormous block. And so over about the course of a week, they worked with me through this heart chakra. And what it culminated in was it was a deep healing. So this is what a lot of the dragons' work is about. It's about deep healing work for us. And as I was doing this work on my heart chakra, I could feel myself getting agitated and irritated. It's like, okay, sit with it. Don't get up and walk away. Sit with it. Stay with it. And I went through this whole transition of irritation to anger to frustration to absolute white hot fury. And the one which surprised me, because anger isn't an energy that I carry. And I went into hatred, and all of this anger, and I think it was past life, it was probably little resentments and things that build that we hold on to. And I could feel it coursing through my body, working through these dragons. So they're not always an easy journey to work with, because they make you really look at your blocks, what's holding you back, and all that kind of thing. And so this journey took about a week for me, and this is what the dragons show us, is that we can heal, and that we can be, they call it human doings, because any of you guys do like mindfulness meditation and do mindfulness, so it's all about being, isn't it? It's all about being present, being centered, and the dragons say to us, you actually don't be ever, you're always doing, and so they're called as human doings rather than human beings, which I think they've got quite an odd sense of humour. So I think that's quite cool. So there are teachers, and if any of you are energy healers, whether it be Reiki or spiritual healing or anything like that, you'll also have a healing guide or healing dragon, and they're very useful to work with because they can guide your work and that type of thing. Then we come to our guardian dragons, and every single one of us has got a guardian dragon. So you're probably familiar with guardian angels. We have guardian dragons. Now what's interesting about, and I don't know about guardian angels, but what's interesting with the guardian dragons, we'll have had a guardian dragon from our very, very first incarnation. So wherever that incarnation may have taken place, whatever galaxy, dimension or universe, because obviously we're multiverse, that dragon will have been with you for that very, very first incarnation. And whether you have been aware of it in previous incarnations or not, that dragon will have walked beside you. And they're always there. So they know your karma. They know your spiritual contract. They know what you're here to do. They know your weak points. They know your strengths. They know your pain. and they are here to support you to fulfill your best potential in this lifetime, whatever that may happen to be. So incredibly eclectic. There's not an area really that the dragons don't cover. What else can I tell you? I tell you what they do. They like to give us some. I'll put it here. It's called Dragon Talk. Watkins did an incredible job of actually laying this out. Because it's just on sheets and sheets of typed paper. And I thought, how are they going to split this into meditations? How are they going to split this into the Dragon's Talk and the Dragon's Tips? And they've done a fantastic job. So what we've got is we've got like Dragon Talk. They've got a little dragon at the top in a little box. They put it in italics, and there's Dragon Tips at the bottom. And when I did my Reiki 1, this red dragon had appeared at the beginning of the day, and he's huge. He was sat in the corner of the room, and a friend of mine who's very clairvoyant, have you seen that red dragon? Because I'm not particularly clairvoyant, I'm more claircognient. And I went, I've got a sense of him. And this red dragon was there all day. And I completely dismissed him. And every time I met anybody that was clairvoyant, they'd say, you've got a big red dragon with you. It's like, it's not mine, it must be yours. I'd just completely forgotten him, totally dismissed him. It's like, no, nothing to do with me, he's got to be yours. And it was only about 6 years ago, I was with another friend, another clairvoyant. I said, there's this red dragon. I said, it's not mine, Nick. It's got to be yours. There's nothing to do with it. I haven't got a red dragon. And we carried on chatting. And suddenly we both got the same thing at the same time. Oh my goodness, it's Dr. Usui, the modern day founder of Reiki in dragon form. And it took years. Sometimes it can, maybe I'm just a bit slow, but sometimes it takes years to join all the dots together that dragons give you, or certainly given me. Anyway, Dr. Usui had this to say about energy healing. Children of Earth, everything around you vibrates. Everything has a frequency. Healing in simple terms is a frequency which alters the state of the human body. The frequency presented to the recipient is one of perfection, allowing the human body, mind, psyche, emotions and spirituality to find their natural equilibrium. And I thought that was a really nice, simple way of talking about how we are all perfect in whatever state we're in, and how we can, if we can let go, we can have that internal perfection of health and well-being. So I thought that was quite nice. And there's another thing, what I've put in here is, because a lot of this was written by journaling basically, so in here you've got 20 years of my journaling, of all the information, the conversations I've had with the dragons. So I put a bit in here about journaling as well, and how you can talk to your dragons. Atlantis. Anybody here to Atlantis? Follow Atlantis? Know about Atlantis? No idea at all? Yes? No? No. There's so many theories around Atlantis. An underwater world. It's off the Greek islands. It's by Hawaii, under Bermuda. It's, whatever. And what the dragon said to me is, in short, Atlantis is in a different dimension to this one we inhabit today. There are many galaxies within our multiverse, with all the planets, constellations, black holes, etc. Dimensions, on the other hand, are beyond our universe. Atlantis, the Lemurians, the Arcturians, and others are interdimensional beings. Arcturians are star beings, sometimes known as light beings, and they have their home beyond our own galactic universe. The Pleiades, too, are of another dimension, yet they, like the Arcturians, have localized satellite stations within our galaxy. So the dragons connect to star beings, they connect to the earth, they connect to crystals, they connect to the wheel of the year. It's vast, which is why I suppose it took me 20 years to write the book, because I have to experience and go through these various dimensions to be able to share it with other people, so they could actually connect their own dragons in their own way. Because there are no hard and fast rules about connecting with dragon. It's what's right for you and what feels right for you, and everybody is completely unique along that spiritual journey with their dragon. Anybody got any thoughts or questions on that? Because I can waffle forever. So, any thoughts on any of that? No?
Just one thing I
yeah, of course.
Curious about. You said everyone has a dragon and watching over them, the dragon guide. Do any of us share more than do the dragons share more than one of us? Is there one dragon looking after many different people? Is there's any connection with us as being connected with the dragon.
So this is my understanding to date, obviously because I've been doing this 20 years and obviously different people have different ideas. So we all have our own personal dragon guides, teacher and whatever. Now like our spiritual guides, as we grow and develop, a guide will come in and teach us something. And when that job is complete with us, they've taken us where we need to be at that particular time, that dragon or that guide will change. So my feeling is the dragons will do the same thing. The one dragon that doesn't ever change is your guardian. And they will be with you always, through every single incarnation ever. From back going forward until you've completed this cycle, I guess. And then I guess they'll be with you in spirit, and I don't know, I haven't got that far yet, so... When I pass over eventually, I guess I know the answer to that one. What happens to our dragon guardian? But certainly from a guide point of view and teacher point of view, our dragons will develop and grow. But they are with us only. Now the Grand Masters, who are the Ascended Masters. So what you have is we'll go with Merlin for instance. I was quite surprised at Merlin. So you've got Merlin the Magician, who will also double as Merlin the Dragon. And and Yusui does the same thing. So they're known as the Grand Masters. Now they'll work with all of us. They're not just with one person. So that's my understanding. Mother Mary is another dragon. So she comes up as she's Serene in the deck. And she again will work, she'll either show herself as Mother Mary or she'll show herself as Serene. And she'll work again with everybody. Now, whether I don't see, because there's energy beings, they could probably work with more than one person at a time, just because of their almost that sort of omnipresent type energy. Because their energy, they have no boundaries. Again, that's just a thought, not a set in stone. So does that help? Does it make sense? Good. Dragons in the land. Now, somebody said. They come from Winchester. It was over there, wasn't it? Yeah. So I met the dragon of St Catherine's Hill, which I wasn't expecting. So wherever you've got large landscapes, you're going to have dragons, and they're normally in pairs. So the next time you're out countryside way, feel into the land and sense the dragons. A few years ago, we were going down to Bath. Just about this time of the year actually, for a friend's big birthday, and my husband was driving and we were driving through the Wiltshire countryside. I went, oh, there'd be dragons under them there hills, and he just thought, oh, here she goes, rolled his eyes, she's off again. And I could sense the dragons in the Wiltshire landscape because we were driving, there's all the hills beside us. It's like I could sense the dragons there. Wherever you've got dragons, they're normally in pairs of male and female. So at St Catherine's Hill, there's a female dragon that I connected with. Now my suspicion is there'll be a male dragon there somewhere. So they connect in divine masculine, divine feminine. The same at the Tor in Glastonbury. If anybody's been up the Tor in Glastonbury, again, there's a female dragon there. And my feeling is, again, I haven't connected with him, but there's a male dragon at the bottom end of the hill, at the lower end of the Tor. And quite often you'll have there'll be water. So where you've got these large earthworks, as it were, there's quite often water as well. So you'll have the dragons will connect into the earth and the water. So you've got water dragons. I haven't actually talked about water dragons in the book actually, but there are. Not in that respect. So what you have at places like Stonehenge, Avebury, places like that, there are dragons that are the guardians of the land, and it's all the sacred sites. So they keep the energy of the site clear. That is their job. That is their task, is to keep the energy of the site clear. Now, if anybody's been to Avebury or Stonehenge around the solstice or after the solstice, you'll be aware that the energy's just gone and there's just nothing there. It just disappears. And my belief is that people go in And people go to these places because they feel good. Because you can go to a site like that and it's, you've got wide open space and it's amazing energy. And we shed our emotions, we shed our emotional pain, we shed our baggage, and we leave it at the earth, on the earth, for the earth to do, often unwittingly, to do what it needs to do with it. What we have now is there's so many of us doing this on our land that it's actually, I'll use the word contaminating the energy lines, the dragon song lines, the matrix. And the dragon's job is to not only to keep the sacred sites sacred and clear, but also the energy lines that joins everything together around the globe. And it's just getting sort of gummed up with all of basically our emotional pain. And so the dragons ask us to do healing work and land healing at these sites, which again I cover in here. And we could do that at the Wheel of the Year if we want to. Did anybody hear drum? No, frame drum.
That's all.
Yeah. So if ever you go to any of these sites, tune into the land, invite the dragons to join you. Actually, actively set the intention around the earth. They call it the super something highway. There is a word for it. Anyway, and it's super information highway they call it. And it's where I feel is how our collective consciousness is carried around the globe. So, you've probably know the story of the 100 monkeys and how monkeys in different parts of the world suddenly started using a rock to break a nut. Completely different continents. And I do have this sort of, and I do wonder, some of the dragons, I've had a feeling that I've had from the dragons that this is passed around the world through the super information highway of this energy. It's our collective consciousness is passed through these lines. But they need to be kept clear and clean. So if we can intentionally drum, sing or anything like that at these sites, it just helps keep the energy clear. And that's what the dragons ask us to do. And we're here for our healing, our growth, and anything else that will support not just the planet, but us. There we go. Have I talked enough yet?
we still have time for a final question.
Yeah, any questions? Yeah. Have I bored you completely rigid? No? No questions? Yes, please.
You talked about sort of dragons of the land, but also dragons of the stars and things like that. How do you personally experience the difference between those two?
It's interesting. So the dragons of the land feel very grounded to me. Like they feel like enormous presence, like vast presence. Whereas if you go into the galactic dragons, they're like a high frequency. So there's because what's happening with the dragons is we're shifting from vibration to frequency. So obviously we're all vibration, and that's not going to change. But the dragons are shifting into frequency, which is why they connect to colour and sound so well. And there's a much different. So the hertz frequency of them, I feel, is very different, and it's definitely got a higher vibe to it than the earth dragons or the land dragons. That's how I feel them, because I'm not as clairvoyant as many people. There is very much that feeling, that knowing. So yeah, the galactic dragons will connect with things like the crystal bowls, tuning forks, crystal skulls. They'll connect with crystal skulls, and that type of thing. Yeah, singing bowls they'll connect with. And the land dragons connect to the didgeridoo and the drum and chanting. Any other thoughts or questions?
In terms of patron saint of England being St George, obviously he's like patron saint everywhere. Like, how do you read that myth? I mean, is it a negative one towards dragons, or is it just being misinterpreted?
I've got a really, really strong view on that. Am I allowed to voice it?
Please.
Okay, because now St George, I believe actually he's been hijacked by the British, because I think he's ended up somewhere like that, out in Iran or somewhere. So I don't know if it's even British philosophy anyway.
Yeah.
And my belief is, at risk of being put to death here in the witch hunter trials and, you know, witch wound, that it was hijacked by Christianity, and they used the dragon as our symbol of women's, or of empowerment, particularly for women and men, and it had to be slain. So you had to devoice and disempower the general populace. And so, and if you think of the dragon, and you think of the snake in the Garden of Eden, how the snake was evil, and he had the secrets and gave Adam and Eve the apple and da da da. My Christianity isn't that brilliant, but these are what I remember from junior school. And I believe that's where the correlation comes in of the dragon and the serpent, and that it was all to disempower the likes of us as normal people, not of the highbrow church. So to take away, you know, our autonomy, really, I suppose. That's my view. So it was, yeah, the dragon was slain as he was, you know, portrayed as being evil, because if we had wisdom, we would rise up, or could rise up, and have a voice, which wouldn't bode well for Christianity. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
Do you do workshops and things like that?
I do.
Yeah?
I've
Do you
got
want
one
to
on
tell
Saturday.
everyone a bit
Yeah,
about
so
that?
I've got one on Saturday, Living with Dragons. It's a 3-hour online workshop. I've got those spaces, it's unlimited, isn't it, online? And then I work for London College of Psychic Studies. So I'm doing a couple next year, working with Magdalene, because the Dragons work with Magdalene. So I'm working with Mary Magdalene and the Dragons online. I think that's February. And then in April, I'm working with the Avebury Matriarch. So it's normally a workshop I hold in Avebury, but I'm actually going to hold it up here in London. So that's going to be a very different energy, working with the Avebury Matriarch in London rather than Avebury. So that's, I don't know. So I haven't asked her what her thoughts are on that. I should have asked her, really, shouldn't I? So yeah, but I do teach, and I do readings and all that kind of thing. So that's sort of, yeah, that's me.
Actually, can you talk a bit more about the connection between Mary Magdalene and the Sapphire Ray Dragons?
Oh gosh, yeah, I've been working with her the last couple of days, actually. I should have brought my notes with me, shouldn't I? So she's very much about empowerment, and she's very much about, so sort of what's in here is just like the tip of the iceberg with Magdalene. And it feels like she's a bit like shifting sands at the moment, and she feels like she's very much about the mother wound and healing and coming into that point of empowerment, because the dragons are about our empowerment, whether you're, you know, masculine or feminine, male or female, or anything else in between. They are, Magdalene in particular is about us finding our place and our voice in the world. And they come in with the Sapphire Ray Dragons. Now when I first saw her, I wanted to put her in the deck, and she absolutely refused. And I didn't see her then for a long time, and she appeared one night as I was dropping off to sleep, and as you should, when these things happen, you should get up and write it down. I thought, oh, I remember that in the morning. I still to this day have no idea what she said to me. It's so annoying. Anyway, there we go. And so as I've sort of worked with her since, sort of on and off, it feels like it's about healing the mother wound, finding our voice, but actually stepping into who we truly are as individuals, as collective beings, but also as our own personal journey, and doing and owning who we are. You know, we get told, oh, you're a good boy or you're a good girl if you do this and you do that, you behave in a certain way. And what we do is we then sort of disacknowledge who we are in essence, and Magdalene is coming in with the Sapphire Race to help us address that. When I first saw her, she was striding towards me with these flanked by these two enormous Sapphire Ray Dragons. She looked like a woman on a mission. It was like really real purposefully striding. It's like, whoa, blimey. She's all about power. And the sapphire rays are here to help us own that power, but also embrace that change that we're going through on a DNA and fundamental level. So there's a bit of DNA healing goes on with the sapphire rays as well. Does that help?
Yeah.
Does that answer it properly?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I can talk in circles with this stuff. Okay. Anybody else? No? No?
Okay, so in that case, first and foremost, another applause for Caroline.
Go on.